All right, listen up, nacho chips. Quiet down, crispy potatoes. This is the moment Velveeta's been preparing you for, and you're not about to crack under pressure. Today's the day to go all in on the drip. Velveeta's Heat and Eat Queso is the MVP of any game day spread, so stick by them, and you'll be golden. Now get out there and make delicious history. No tailgate party is complete without Velveeta.
New year, new you, new health advice. So what actually deserves your attention in 2026? Hi, everyone. I'm Barbara, and this is Age Better. Every January, U.S. News&WR Report releases its annual Best Diets rankings, and it's become one of those moments when the entire wellness world leans in. This year, that timing feels especially relevant, coming just as the U.S. government has released its newest dietary guidelines for Americans, along with an updated food pyramid that will influence nutrition advice nationwide. But this year, the U.S. News&WR Report health team did something even more useful. They asked a panel of medical experts to weigh in on the health and nutrition trends that will shape 2026, like what's gaining momentum, what's fading out, and what's actually worth your time and attention. And let's be honest, it's a lot out there. New medications, new tech, new advice, new must-dos. And if you're in midlife, you don't have the patience for noise. I know I don't. You want what's credible, practical, and doable. My guest today is Gretel Schueller, the health editor at U.S. News&WR Report, and she's been on Age Better several times because she's one of the best at translating big health reporting into clear takeaways that you can really use in real life. And so in this conversation, I'm asking Gretel to walk us through what the experts said, what surprised her most, and how to make smart choices in 2026 without chasing every trend. So whether your goal is more energy, better labs, stronger bones, a healthier heart, or simply feeling more in control of your day-to-day health, or all of the above, you will definitely want to stay tuned. Okay, everyone, get ready to age better. Hey, Gretel, welcome back to Age Better.
Hi, Barbara. It's so nice to be back. I enjoy it.
You know, I can't believe it's been almost a year. No, it's been a year since the first time you were on the show talking about the 2025 best diet that came out from U.S. News&WR Report. It's kind of crazy that it's been a year, and you've been on since then, of course. But today we're going to be talking about your expanded report to talk about health and nutrition trends for 2026 based on your wonderful group of experts. So just talk us through a little bit about the group that you have who kind of voted and suggested, and really what we're going to be focusing on for 2026. Tell us about that.
Right. So this panel, it's our same Best Diets panelists. So it's doctors, dietitians, as well as other health researchers. And there were 58 who were involved in this particular survey.
Okay, great. And how was it structured? You gave them topics to vote on, or were they suggested? How did that work?
Right. So we gave them a survey. I think we had about 15 or so questions. And basically, we asked them about health goals, nutrition, diet, as well as the sort of emerging health trends that would have the biggest or most significant impact in 2026.
Okay, let's get right to those. And so there were 3, because I read the report, right, and also you talked about it on Today. Great performance. Yay. It was really fun to see you on television.
Thanks.
A few days ago. But tell us what the top 3 were. And some of them, I think, are a bit surprising, at least those who didn't make it to the top. But what are the top 3?
Right. So the top 3 were the expanded use of GLP-1s, which we're probably familiar with, like the Wegovy's and the Ozempics. And then number 2 was AI being integrated with wearable devices like rings and smart rings and smartwatches. And then number 2 was food as medicine, the food as medicine approach. So those were the top 3 trends for 2026.
Yeah, incredible. Let's start first with the GLP-1s. And yes, everybody knows about them. I remember when I did an episode on them, I said to my expert, my medical expert, Dr. Margaret Noctegal, this was 2 years ago. I said, we got to tell people about this. It's becoming a thing. And like nobody knows about it. And nobody did.
Yeah.
This is like 2.5 years ago, maybe almost 3. Anyway, let's talk about that because what I read in the report and what I heard you talk about on the Today Show was that it's not less about weight loss, because that's always going to be, I think, the main focus, but also how they can help with other diseases, other chronic medical conditions. So talk to us about that.
Right. And I don't want to take away from the fact they have been hailed as sort of a miracle weight loss drug. And there's no doubt that they're playing a huge role and will continue to. But beyond obesity and diabetes, there's an ever expanding list of health conditions that they've been approved for. So, for example, they are currently approved and being used for improving heart health. So that's everything from decreasing heart attack and stroke risk, lowering blood pressure, lowering cholesterol. They're being used to slow the progression of kidney disease, treat certain types of liver disease, as well as treat sleep apnea. And then there's a whole slew of really promising research that suggests they may be helpful for some other health conditions. So, for example, for psoriasis, psoriatic arthritis, mainly in decreasing inflammation. And then really surprising for me is for drug and alcohol addiction. In fact, clinical trials there look really promising. And some doctors are actually already prescribing the GLP-1 drugs off-label for this use because it curbs alcohol use, opioid use, and nicotine use. There's also some other research in the field of Alzheimer's too that is a little bit mixed, but it's still early days.
So what I'm curious about, I think everyone in the audience might be too, so this doesn't really apply just to people who also need to lose weight,
Correct.
right? I mean, the GLP-1s can also be used in these ways or for these illnesses and diseases,
Exactly.
even if they don't need to lose weight. So that's really amazing. And then new research is constantly coming out. And I'm sure that as the year goes on, we'll be seeing even more. So we'll keep an eye on that. And then let's get to technology, wearables. I'm a really big fan of wearables, and I have been for a number of years, starting with my Apple Watch, which I'm, of course, wearing now, always wear it 24/7. And then my Oura Ring, which I've had for 1 year. Literally, I got it for Christmas last year.
I don't want to raise my middle finger, but I have one too.
And I just find them so interesting. And by the way, the two of them, some people ask me, well, why do you need both of them? And I find that they're designed for different things, really. You get a lot of different information on your wearable watch, in this case, the Apple Watch, as I do from my Oura Ring, which really started as something to help you keep tabs on your sleep. And it's really kind of expanded from there. But talk to us about wearables and why is that something your experts think we need to really be focused on this year or will be focused on this year?
Right. So I think there's a couple things going on here. And one is the integration of AI into these. But I think what the sort of the overall trend here is we're moving from a sort of one size fits all approach and how we manage our health to a really personalized one, right? So these wearables, they're not just tracking various health metrics, but they're helping us actively manage and sort of improve our health and giving us like real-time feedback. So whether, like you said, it's the ring or the smartwatch, there's also the bands and these things collect everything from like heart rate, blood oxygen, stress, physical activity, your sleep stages, so deep sleep or REM sleep, even your body temperature. But there's other devices too, which people may be less familiar with. So smart clothing like socks and shirts that can analyze like muscle activity and posture and breathing volume. A lot of people use these, like runners use the socks to optimize like a workout or their stride. They can be also used for physical therapy and rehab. And then last but not least, there's these sensors that go just under the skin. They're tiny. It feels like a little prick, called continuous glucose monitors. Now, historically, people with diabetes would use them to monitor their blood sugar. But now anyone can get one. They're over the counter and they just go under your skin and measure blood sugar. Basically, like you said, there's this mountain of information. And so AI helps take all that information and turn it into really personalized tips and recommendations to improve your sleep, manage your stress better, get personalized nutrition guidance, like even optimize workouts. I think what's interesting here in terms of how we're going to benefit and how it's going to, long term, maybe see a real sea change in how we sort of approach our own health, is that we're seeing in real time and getting real time feedback how our body responds to various things, whether it's a food choice we make or the lack of sleep. I saw, for example, I thought it was really interesting over the holidays, those nights where you eat maybe a little bit more than usual and drink just a little bit more than usual. I mean, we all know it doesn't help, it's not great for sleep, but you could see in real time, exactly how badly it would affect your sleep.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I find the Oura Ring has really gotten better and better in this past year, especially embracing AI specifically. It's very personalized now, I find. And you're so right about the sleep. It's really scary, actually, when you see how your sleep is really disturbed when you
Right.
overdo a lot of those things or underdo the sleep, because that's something else that happened. I don't know about you, but certainly for me, with my daughters at home, and we were just up late every night and I wasn't getting enough, and it really did show. So it's just also fascinating. But what about people who they get so stressed out by what they see, like, oh, I'm not getting enough sleep, that causes stress. It has like this counterproduction thing happening.
Yeah. So I think it's really, and I'm guilty of this too, of going down like a rabbit hole of overwhelming information
Yeah.
and obsessing on like your heart rate or some particular metric. And so I think there's a couple things here. One, it's not a bad idea to consult with your doctor to help you make sure you're interpreting all that information properly. But even if you're not doing that, there's a couple tips to sort of prevent yourself from getting overwhelmed. Like maybe you only look at it once in the morning or once in the evening, not constantly looking at it, so that you either look at it in the morning and sort of to plan your day, or to sort of once in the evening to sort of get a sense of how did that day go, right?
Right.
If you have, some people have notifications for certain things, maybe turn them off so you're not constantly looking if your heart rate or your activity level isn't what it's supposed to be. And then the other thing is like be really intentional about what you maybe want to measure, like maybe thinking sleep, physical activity, stress, heart rate, it may be too much. So maybe think, I really want to focus on improving my sleep. So I'm just going to focus on the sleep metrics for now. So that might be a way just to not feel so overwhelmed by all the data.
Right. I think that's great recommendations, all of those. So let's jump over to food. You did say that number 3 was what? Tell us what number 3 was in your lineup. It was
Right. So
remind us what the 3 are.
So number 3 was the food as medicine trend. And again, not a new one. It's a very basic concept. What the foods we eat directly impact our health. No big, surprise there. But I think what's changing and what our experts notice is that it's becoming a more formal treatment program in clinics and hospitals. So doctors are actually prescribing specific foods and meals to patients to help manage blood sugar, diabetes or heart disease better. And we also asked our experts, well, if food is medicine, what is the food that gets you the most bang for your buck health-wise? And that was fiber. So the one thing you can do is sort of increase your fiber intake. It does a lot of things. Fiber lowers cholesterol. It helps with weight management because it keeps you full longer. It reduces colon cancer risk. It helps manage blood sugar. It feeds the gut bacteria in your body. I mean, it's really kind of a health superhero. So
it really is. In fact, when you were on the show the last time, a few months ago, we were talking a great deal about fiber. So this is really important. And I'm really happy to hear that that is one that we should be spending more time on. But of course, my audience is going to want to know, all right, well, how do I realistically incorporate more fiber into my diet? In fact, my daughter asked me the same question this morning when I told her that you and I were going to be having this discussion. She said, well, please ask her, how do I do that?
Yeah.
So what are some ideas?
The official guideline is that women are supposed to get about 25, men are supposed to get about 30. The truth is almost nobody eats that much fiber. We're lucky if we get half of that, but it's relatively easy. So the sort of foods that are high fiber: beans, peas, lentils, nuts and seeds, and then whole grains like quinoa, oatmeal, brown rice. But I will say one important tip here, especially for most of us who probably don't eat as much fiber as we're supposed to, is to start slowly. Because You probably heard about the social media trend called fiber maxing, where you're supposed to just like eat mountains of fiber. Well, the danger is you're going to bloat, get constipated, and I won't go into any other details. So start slowly and hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. But yeah, so it's all about adding. So add more fruits and vegetables with the peels on. Work in your oatmeal, your brown rice, whole wheat bread. So this might be something as simple as when you make a meal or a salad, like sprinkle some beans and seeds on top, or add chia seeds to your yogurt. That already will get you very far in the fiber quota for the day.
Yeah, one thing I do literally every day is I'll have a cup of cottage cheese, really more as a snack or a second breakfast, and I'll add in chia seeds and flax seeds mixed together along with my berries. And so, and that, I find that it's really, really helpful in helping
really
me to get the fiber. And it's so easy, and it's, it's easy. Just mix it in and eat it.
When I sit at the computer, like my nibble is just a tiny little bowl of almonds or nuts too, because that's an easy way to get some fiber while you're just snacking. And then it's so basic, but like an apple, a pear, like fruit is the ultimate dessert. Leave the peel on, eat it, and it gets you fiber, plus a whole lot of other good things. So
that's great. Yeah, really, really great. Thanks for that, Gretel. Okay, let's talk about diet. I mean, originally, you always, each U.S. News and World Report would do the best diet report. But then, of course, you decided to expand it this year because you had the same winner every single year. So there was no more surprise. We knew what the winner was going to be.
Not a betting game here.
So what's the winner this year, Gretel?
Right.
But what is it? Tell us.
So it was the Mediterranean once again. And so
surprise.
And I think, so what our experts noted is the Mediterranean and other plant-forward diets, the ones that consistently win, like the DASH, the flexitarian. Again, no rocket science here. They all have the basic same things in common, which is, again, we just talked about it, a focus on whole grains, vegetables, fruits, and healthy fats. And plant-forward, that's an important part to stay. And this Mediterranean is a flexible, like it's family-friendly. Pretty much anyone can adapt it for whatever lifestyle they might have. And it's not restrictive. You don't feel like you're dieting. There's really not much you can't eat. It's like it goes back to the basics, right? It's a family-friendly, plant-forward diet.
It really is. And of course, we have to make reference to the new U.S. government nutritional guidelines that just came out this week also, along with your report. And, on top, how can we ignore the new graphic, the image of the food pyramid with a big juicy steak on top of it, which is like counter to everything that we've been taught and told for decades, really, and certainly counter to the Mediterranean diet, because that really does not call for red meat.
Right.
For the most part. So this is going to be very, very interesting to see how people will kind of follow those guidelines in addition to what we already know, what science says is really very, very important for us, which is the Mediterranean diet. So what is the easiest way to get started? I mean, you did say it's very family friendly, and it really is. So just kind of, how would you suggest it?
There are a couple of things our experts noted, and about half of them said that the most important practical tip they would tell their patients or clients is and when they're adopting a more Mediterranean style, because it isn't just it's really any sort of plant-forward eating pattern.
Yes.
Is the legumes. So that's the beans, the peas, and the lentils. Add those. And again, it's about adding good foods rather than trying to subtract the bad ones, because the moment you're focusing on getting the good stuff in, you'll automatically sort of push out the things that maybe you should be eating less of, like desserts or simple carbs.
And processed foods. I mean, we should point that out too. Right. What were some of the trends or things that you all expected to see higher up on the list that just weren't this year?
Yeah. So I think what was most surprising for me, and again, talking about plant-based, because just a couple years ago, to me, it seemed like there was so many plant-based food alternatives. Like you could get 20 different kinds of fake meat and, butter, plant-based yogurt. That was on the bottom 3 of the list, which to me was rather surprising, as was sustainable or ethical eating. So anything plant-based alternative foods, sustainable eating, these were at the sort of the bottom rung of the list of trends for 2026, which in some ways is maybe not a huge surprise, because again, one of the things that our dietitians and other health experts say is that to focus on whole, unprocessed foods rather than processed foods. And many of these plant-based foods that we're talking about are, to some degree processed, some more than others.
Right. I mean, that never was something that I was interested in even trying, to be honest. I would much rather go with whole foods and real food and plant forward, as you say. So the report also touched on behavioral change and sticking with your goals and goal setting. So talk to us a little bit. What did they say about how people can really follow through with their goals?
Right. So I thought this was very interesting, and I think a lot of good take-home messages here. So overall, I think we all have a tendency to make really big, vague goals that seem, and that can also be super ambitious. Like we'll say, I want to exercise more, I want to lose weight, or they're really ambitious, like I want to lose X pounds, take an ice bath daily, and change my diet, right? So rather, it's all about one small change at a time, baby steps. So like maybe you start on day, your first goal is, I'm going to go to sleep by 9:30 every day. When you feel that's become a habit, move to your next goal. Maybe it's, I'm going to add a vegetable to every meal. And then maybe it's, I'm going to walk 15 minutes every day. So the key part here is that it's very specific. It's doable. It's not this big thing. It's something that you can attain easily. And it's also quantifiable. So I know when I've achieved that goal, right? If I've walked 15 minutes, I'll know it one way or the other. So just start with those. And then the second tip that they said is if you can team up with a friend or a buddy, even better, because an accountability partner really helps.
It really, really does. And that's how I always do it. And that's how when I first started running, back when I turned 50, that's exactly, I just started running and then everything else fell into place. I was sleeping better. I made sleep a priority. I made eating better a priority to be a better runner and so on and so forth. So that really does work, having that, what I call a foundation habit. So for listeners in midlife, is there one change that you think you would, based on everything from this report, that you would suggest people look at before they go forward?
Yeah. So I think I'm going to consolidate two big tips that I think that were given. Okay. And that is focus on whole, unprocessed plant-based food. Mm-hmm. And if you want to get more specific, so because we did ask our experts, what's their overall nutrition advice? And the first was focus on whole, unprocessed food. And the second was focus on plant-based food. So take the two, combine them, and focus on plant-based food. And I know that's very different from the new pyramid, but yeah.
Everyone's going to have to make their own educated decisions at the end of the day, right?
Right.
Yep. So, okay, this was great, Gretel. As always, you are truly an Age Better favorite. No question about it. So thank you for taking the time. You had a very busy, so fun. But before I let you go, you know what's coming up next. I never let anybody get off the hook. What are your 3 top takeaways that you really want to make sure everybody remembers?
Yeah. So the first one is something I'm also doing. So the first one is find a baby step goal, something small and manageable and measurable for 2026, like walk 10 minutes or whatever, that time frame every day. Practice a 5-minute deep breathing exercise, or just practice going to bed a half an hour earlier than you are. The second one is if you're going to use one of these health tracking devices, pick just one thing like sleep or stress and focus on that. You can expand later on, but start with one so you don't get overwhelmed. And then the third is big surprise. Yeah, increase that fiber. Start adding some beans to your daily meals.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Gretel. I hope you have a wonderful year up, but I know you'll be back soon.
Thanks so much, Barbara. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. See you next week.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. If you enjoyed this episode of Age Better Podcast, please do a few things. First, share it with all your friends and family. Then, subscribe to Age Better wherever you listen to podcasts, including YouTube, so you never miss a single episode. Finally, if you have ideas for topics you want me to cover in a future episode of Age Better, send an email to agebetterpodcast@gmail.com or reach out to me on social media. Until next time, remember this. We can't control getting older, but we can control how we do it. Talk to you soon. Age Better Podcast is a proud member of the Sound Advice Network. Sound Advice, women's voices amplified.